This video is about month end. So the first thing you have to do is go into your billing processing and make sure everything has been posted to the general ledger. So I go to posting to the general ledger. The entry date, I'll always go back to the first date of the fiscal year, which is July 1st, 2018, and then I use the date, which is the last day of the month. I make sure if I'm in the billing module that it's the right fiscal year, the right fiscal period, and the journal source is correct. It must be correct. So for the billing module, it must say account receivable. Posting date is the last day of the month. Hit process. It'll tell you the dates are outside fiscal period. Do you wish to continue? Yes. It says posting process to Great Plains completed successfully. So then I go into the cash receipts module, workflow, cash receipts process, and I do the same thing, posting to the general ledger. I use the first day of the fiscal year and the last day of the month. I make sure the fiscal year is correct, the fiscal period is correct, and the journal source must say cash receipt if you are in cash receipt. Posting date is the last day of the month. Unless you do this, if you, for whatever reason, can't complete this until the first day of the month, you need to backdate the posting date to the last day of the month, and then hit process. Posting process to Great Plains completed successfully. So everything has been posted. So now you need to start with your reports. The first report is the batch report. So you'll go to workflow and reports in either billing or cash receipts, doesn't matter, and go to batch. Make sure that's default and hit show. It takes a couple seconds to come up. You must make sure everything has been posted to the GL or it will not show up on the report for the month. If you find that you still see something unposted, you have to find out what that batch number is and manually post it to either billing or cash receipts. It'll tell you which one it is. Sometimes you cannot find it because this report is very, very long. It goes back to the very beginning. So where it says batch right here, where it says default, it's got an entry date. So you can enter the entry date of that month to find any unposted batches instead of scrolling through years of lines. So when it pops up, I automatically go down to the very end of the report. Right there, it says $50 is unposted. It must say 0. Now what we're going to do is go back here to where it still says batch, still says default. We're going to do entry date. So I clicked on entry date, I'm going to click on edit. And then I'm going to click on filter. The entry date, normally I just start off with 1. So I'll delete that line. Find the column with the entry date right there. Click on it and click load table because you do have to type out the date like this. So normally I just click on the date and then I change it to the month I'm looking at. Normally greater than or equal to the 1st. Hit save. Hit close. Close. Show. Now, if this shows the same $50 unposted, we'll be able to find it easier. Okay, it still says $50, but if you notice right here, there's $50 that the entry date is June 18th. We're pretending that it's the last day of the month. So technically, if it was the last day of the month, there wouldn't be anything posted or into Pirate Campus with any date after the last day of the month. So let's just pretend this says 0. So now you need to go to your balance report. go to your default and go to GSC People Only, and hit Show. You'll need to write down what the balance is, the ending balance of Pirate Campus. As soon as it pops up, we'll scroll down to the very bottom and write down the balance that it's showing in Pirate Campus. The third report that we use is the Charge Credit Totals report. I'll scroll all the way down. 7671-308-15. Okay, so now we'll go to the Charge Credit Totals report. Underneath here, we'll go per specified period. So you need to make sure, the only thing you change here, let me go back and do it slowly. Go to Edit, Filter. The only thing you need to change is the fiscal period until you roll over to the new fiscal year. Then you need to make sure that says 20. July is the first period in the new fiscal year. So June would be 12, the 12th period. That's the only thing you need to change. So we're going to close this out and hit Show. The only piece that you're looking for is this section right here. Now what you'll do at this point is you have an Excel spreadsheet that I keep up with. This is how I balance out my own Pirate Campus. This line right here that's highlighted, that this is the actual balance that Gary sends you on the report. The first thing we're going to do is put June, and we're going to go ahead and add this balance because that's our beginning balance for June. Now if you notice here, you've got your beginning balance, your charges, credits, dispersed aid, cash receipt. I don't use this line, and then it's got the calculated ending balance in yellow. So this is what we're going to manually calculate using the Charge Credit Totals report. Okay, so the first line is charges, $84,000. Now with the credits, these are your write-offs, your goodwills and stuff. Now if there's no minus in front of it, you'll put a minus here. Your fourth line, excuse me, is your dispersed aid. You'll put a minus. And then your last line is your cash receipts. You'll put that as a minus also. So what you'll do here is you'll take your, put your equal for your formula. You'll take your beginning balance plus charges plus your negative credit plus your negative dispersed aid plus your negative cash receipts. And that's your calculated ending balance. Now the balance that was on the report that we ran was $7,671,308.15. So if you notice, if you just minus those two numbers, it's off by $50. $50 is what was unposted with the cash receipt for tomorrow's date, but we're pretending this month end. Once those two figures equal out, then that's when you'll turn in a support ticket to Gary. The only thing I put in the support ticket is, Gary, please run balance report and email balance. and do backup, business office backup. So once he gives you the report, which will be the next day, the beginning part of the month, you'll just plug in his number here. If there's any variance, normally I'll just put $50 variance, and I'll say cash receipt, you know, if you don't make the person delete it. Normally if it's just that much, it doesn't really matter. At least you have it documented. If it's a couple of thousand, sometimes that does happen. However, if it's over $100,000, I try to find what's going on or why we're off. A lot of times when you're in this type period in between fall semester and summer, and you've entered in like residency tax or something with the August 1st date, and you don't take it out when you run this report, and you're off, let's just say $75,000, then you can just make that note. Here's an example: is last July we were off by right much. We were off by $72,824.50, and that happened to be the international residency tax and insurance that had an August 1st date, but it was part of the balance. So you have to show that this is a variance. But once Gary comes back to you and he says everything's been backed up and he'll get your report tomorrow, you can start letting everyone enter in their cash receipt. Now for the month end also, when Gary sends you the balance report, I forward it to Jay. He also wants these two reports: reconciliation, billing and cash receipts, and reconciliation by source. So if you click on this one, reconciliation, billing and cash receipts, and click setup, you'll just use your fiscal period. So June to June, you click out of it, you click on show, and you just send that to Jay. Because he compares what we did to the journal amount that was posted. And then you go down to the reconciliation by source. You'll click setup, and this is where you have to do this twice. You make sure the fiscal period matches, and then you have to do cash receipt, send it to Jay. Do the same report and click accounts receivable and send to Jay. He also uses this as a way to make sure that whatever we've entered into PowerCampus equals out to the journal source. Now, for any reason we're off by a lot and you can't figure it out, there's a journal list here. You can just play with these lists, and sometimes Jay can tell you what GL is off. If so, then you can use this journal list by account year period. Make sure your fiscal year matches the fiscal period it matches. You can either do it by GL account or just accounts receivable. And what this does, let me delete this. This will show you each journal for GL code that you posted to, the dates, the entry dates, and how much it is per day. So he can kind of, if for any reason there's a lot of a difference and you can't figure it out, and he's asking you to, I use this report and I just give it to him, and he can drive down in the Great Plains and see what GL and what day we had issues with. And that is month end.